Hi, everyone. All right, so today in religion, so this whole week we're going to be talking about the important people in the church, in the Catholic Church. Who are the important people that help us to celebrate Mass and to stay united as a Catholic Church? Okay, so today we're talking about deacons. So we're kind of going to work up the ladder. So imagine it's kind of like a ladder. So the most important people are up here, and then everybody's important in God's eyes. First of all, very important. Everybody's important in God's eyes. But the most important person up here, the leader, and then the next leader, and the next leader, and the last leader. Okay, so today we're talking about the last leader. So deacons. So Miss Morgan's going to tell you a little bit about deacons and why they're important, and then we're going to look at our deacons at All Saints. We have some really, really good ones, really wonderful deacons. All right. So the highest person is Pope Francis, and we'll talk about him on Thursday, but Pope Francis, and then the bishops, and we have Bishop Burbage in our archdiocese, or in our diocese. So Pope Francis, Bishop Burbage. Pope Francis says, Bishop Burbage, can you tell all the priests in your diocese to do this? And Bishop Burbage says, yes. So then Bishop Burbage, and then we have the priests. So at our parish at All Saints, we have 4 priests. We'll talk about them tomorrow. And then the priests ask the deacons for help. So the deacons, we also have 4 of those at All Saints, and we'll look at them in a moment. Okay, but so that's how it goes. So Pope Francis, bishops, priests, deacons. Okay, now there are 2 different kinds of deacons. There are some deacons who are studying to be priests. They're like going to school so that they can become a priest, and they're called transitional deacons. That just means they're transitioning. Transitioning means moving. So they're moving from not being priests at all to being priests. And in order to learn how to be a priest, they need to be a deacon, because the best way to learn how to do something is to be with someone who does it all the time. So they get to learn from the priests. So there are 2 kinds: transitional, the ones that are studying to be priests, and then permanent. That means forever. They are just deacons. They don't want to be priests at all. And they can be married because they are just going to stay deacons. So that's okay. Now, what exactly do deacons do? So deacons, the sacraments that they can do, they can baptize people. So maybe some of you have been baptized by a deacon. Miss Morgan was baptized by a deacon. They can witness marriages, so they can go to marriages. They can do funerals, and they can give out communion. You know, when the 4th graders go up to receive communion, and on Sundays maybe your parents go up to receive communion, and there can be priests or deacons or lay people who aren't ordained, and we'll talk about them a little bit later. But deacons are allowed to give out communion. They can also say the homily. So you know, after, when we all stand and we're listening to the gospel, and then we sit down and the priest comes out and he talks to us, well, deacons are allowed to do that too. So they can say, okay, today I'm gonna preach about the gospel. So they can say, this is what Jesus means in the gospel, and kind of challenge us to grow. So you know how sometimes Ms. Morgan says, okay, I have a challenge for you. Well, that's the same thing in a homily. So deacons can say, I have a challenge for everybody in this church. And they also, so their job is also to pray the Liturgy of the Hours, which is a special prayer that everybody, all the Pope, the bishop, the priest, and the deacons, they all have to pray it, and we can pray it too. And it's just a prayer so that we can pray for everybody in the church. That means that the Pope and the bishop and the priests and the deacons, they're all praying for all of us all the time. Can you believe that? That's so wonderful, Miss Morgan. That makes Miss Morgan's heart so happy. And we can do that too, but that's called the Liturgy of the Hours. So those are very important. Now, deacons, priests, and bishops, they're called, this is a special word, they're called clerics. Clerics. That means they're members of the clergy. These are the people, the clergy leads people. So the bishops and the priests and the deacons, they're in charge of all the people in the Catholic Church to make sure that we know that we are loved and important in God's eyes, and to help us get closer to heaven, because that's our job always. Now, it's absolutely my job and your job to help each other get closer to heaven every day, but it's also Miss Morgan's job to be a teacher. And it's also your job to be a student, to be a kindergartner. And maybe it's your mommy's job to be a nurse, or your daddy's job to be a nurse, or your mommy's job to be a salesperson, or your daddy's job to be a salesperson. You know, there's so many other jobs that we all have, but it's their whole job. Deacons and priests and bishops, their whole job is to help us get to heaven. That's all they have to focus on all day long, is to help us get to heaven. And those people are called the clergy. The people whose only job in the whole entire world is to help us get to heaven. They're called the clergy. All right, now Miss Morgan would like to show you right here. Okay, so here we are. So this is our parish website at All Saints. There are priests. We'll talk about them tomorrow. And then we have 4 deacons. We have Deacon Orlando, Deacon John, Deacon Brian, and Deacon James. So these are all permanent deacons. Permanent deacons. Remember, that means that they're not studying to be priests. They're going to stay deacons forever. And you might see them up on the altar when Mass is going on. You might notice that, look, if you look at the priests, they have to wear these little white collars right here. But the deacons, they don't have to wear that. During Mass, they do wear a special outfit, but on a normal day-to-day, they don't have to wear that. All right, friends. So Miss Morgan did put a coloring page on the in the Google Drive folder for you to color of the deacons. I want it to be best coloring. And today I want you to think about how you can help others get to heaven. I also want you to think about some awesome deacons that you know and say an extra prayer for them. If you don't know any, that's okay. You can pray for all the deacons in the whole entire world, because we all need prayers all the time. All right, sweet friends, I'll see you later.